like to invite Professor Sachs to give his acceptance speech with the Honorary Doctorate.
President Cao, Minister Chantal Sun, distinguished faculty, Professor Monroe, thank you very much for that wonderful statement. All of the guests and students, thank you so much for this wonderful and deeply meaningful award. I'm very, very grateful to the University of Cambodia for the honor, and in two very special ways. One is the extraordinarily wonderful company that you have given me as you bestow this honor, because the two previous honorees are people that I admire tremendously and that I'm so proud to be jointly associated with the honor today, but more generally in our work. You have met and heard Tan Sri Jeffrey Chia, one of the great business people of the world and of your region, but an individual with a giant heart as well as a great business mind and a great humanity. And he is absolutely leading the way in this region in helping to expand the knowledge base by founding a major university in Malaysia, Sunway University, and now in partnership with this great university. So what a pleasure to be receiving this honor together with you. And I'll tell you a professional secret. The key to being a good professor is to have good students. So the students teach you a lot more than you teach them. I'm sure the students would agree. And one of my greatest students in my career and one of my best friends throughout my whole adult life is Professor Wing Tai Wu, who came to see me 40 years ago and said, would you be my advisor? What he was really saying is, I will be your teacher about Asia, which he has been for 40 years. And so Wing has been a co-author, a co-researcher, a co-writer, a co-organizer, but especially my guru through Asia, through China, Southeast Asia. We've taken many, many trips together all through the ASEAN region, and I'm always really his student, although he's nice to say sometimes that he was my student. But it's been a mutual experience of fantastic benefit for me. So this is also great that we're here together today for this honor. I've known your minister, Chantal Sun, for 20 years and more, a great minister, and he told me recently, Jeff, you haven't been to Cambodia for quite a while. It's been 15 years. You won't quite believe it. And how happy I am that soon after he told my wife Sonia and me that, we are here for this great ceremony, and indeed, it's remarkable. It's remarkable what Cambodia is building and accomplishing. It's so moving to see the society showing all its strengths and its determination, its hard work, and its fantastic accomplishments. You have a country of great beauty that went through hell, and now you are building that beauty and showing the world all that the people of this country can accomplish. This is really extraordinary. The second reason that I'm so especially thrilled today is the nature of this honor that you've given me, because you have called it an honor of peace, an honorary doctorate of peace. That is extraordinarily meaningful. And it's very, very meaningful, especially in this country that has known the worst of war and now enjoys a glorious peace and a great opportunity which you're using for building. 50 years ago, we would never have had this ceremony. 50 years ago, just now, bombs would have been falling. Bombs dropped by bombers from my country, the United States. B-52s that flew sorties day and night for years, bombing this country and killing people. And I can tell you, the American people did not know, because our government lied to us every day. And those who did know were profoundly ignorant about what they were doing. It was a tremendous crime against this country and against humanity. It could not have been greater ignorance and evil than the United States committed. In your emblem for the university, it says something very important that I want the students to really recognize and understand. It says University of Cambodia in pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. So here's my question to you. What is the difference of knowledge and wisdom? That's not a trick question. They may sound the same. Knowledge is knowing things. What is wisdom? Well, you may say knowing a lot of things. But there's a very important difference of these words. And the difference in Western civilization dates back more than 2,000 years, when the distinction was made by one of our greatest philosophers, Aristotle, the great philosopher of ancient Greece. He said that knowledge was knowing facts. It was knowing science or knowing engineering. Very, very important. It's what Tansri Jeffrey Chia said is knowing how to do things. But Aristotle said that wisdom is different. Wisdom is knowing why to do things, exactly what Tansri Jeffrey Chia said a few minutes ago. The Greeks had a word for it. They called it phronesis. It's a word of ancient Greek. It's sometimes translated as practical wisdom in English. But wisdom means knowing what to do, not just how to do it. So the Americans that were bombing your country, they had a lot of knowledge. They knew how to build bombs. They knew how to fly B-52s. They knew how to target sites. But they had no wisdom. They didn't know why to do things. And the truth is, they had no ethics also. We had one of our worst presidents in history then, Richard Nixon. When I was young, I thought it couldn't be worse. I was wrong. It's worse now. But Nixon was a cynic. Nixon didn't have values. He didn't know killing people was even wrong. He didn't have the wisdom to know what to do. So for him, it was a show of strength. And people dying, that was not his concern. Our biggest challenge in this world is cultivating wisdom. We have knowledge galore, and we need knowledge. We need the knowledge to know how to do things. We need the knowledge to know how to make a clean energy system, how to use solar power, how to have electric vehicles in the future, how to clean the water and clean the air, how to grow the food more sustainably, how to monitor your forests and our forests to protect nature. We need the know-how. And at this university, you, the students, are learning the know-how for solving the problems that Cambodia confronts today and will confront in the future. But we desperately need the wisdom to know how to live as decent human beings. We need the wisdom to know the values that will deliver the well-being of society. You are heirs not only to knowledge, but also to great wisdom. This is one of the world's leading Buddhist countries. And the Buddhist traditions have great insight of wisdom, how to follow the middle path, right thinking, compassion. These are values of wisdom, of excellence in the right way to live for peace. Please cultivate your wisdom and your cultural heritage, your knowledge about ending suffering and promoting human well-being, and the great Buddhist traditions of compassion, which are the most vital sentiments that we need on the planet. We have the know-how to achieve sustainable development. We need the wisdom to stay in peace and to learn to cooperate. I'm afraid that knowledge and wisdom often do not go together. Sometimes they're even contradictory, because knowledge creates power and power creates stupidity, not wisdom. Power creates arrogance. Power destroys compassion. Power can create violence and corruption. And so knowledge and wisdom must each be cultivated and each developed together. We, especially in our time, need to cultivate the wisdom of peace. My favorite president in American history, President John F. Kennedy, when he came into office 60 years ago, said something very profound. He said, "For the world is very different now. Mankind holds in his mortal hands the ability to end all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life. What President Kennedy meant was we have the knowledge to end poverty, but we also have so much military force that we have the potential to destroy life itself. And you know, we almost did end all the life on this planet many times because of nuclear weapons. Even during President Kennedy's time as president in 1962, the United States and the Soviet Union came within just a moment of destroying the earth in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Fortunately, at that moment, President Kennedy and his Soviet counterpart, Nikita Khrushchev, had the wisdom to pull back from conflict. The world depended on just two people at that moment, and a bad accident could have ended everything. Now we have another way that we can destroy the earth that Professor Wu talked about, environmental destruction. There's so many of us on the planet, almost 8 billion people now. Our technology is so powerful we could chop down all the trees. We could ruin the climate. We could pollute all the air and the water. We could fish all the fish if we're not careful. We have the knowledge to destroy everything environmentally. So we need the wisdom to know better. There's something in our minds that leads us potentially to destruction. There's something in our minds that points to the other person and says, I don't like you. I will kill you. I will bomb you. And this is what we have to combat. We have to combat our own ignorance and even our own human instincts, because we are together in this crisis. There can be no us and them. When Trump orders the assassination of an Iranian leader, this is stupid and dangerous. We can't live in a world like this, where American drones are coming and killing leaders of other countries. This is a shame that could get us all destroyed. Of course, Trump doesn't understand so many things. Climate change, fighting poverty. We have a big crisis. We need to work together to solve these crises. I've studied very much the issue, for example, of the United States and Iran, which almost came to war this week and still could. And you know, there are no deep reasons for that conflict. There are no real reasons why the United States and Iran should be enemies. They could equally well be friends. But we don't have the wisdom in the leadership right now to understand that and to know that. President Kennedy said two more things that I want to quote to you, because I think that this is our way for peace. Peace between China and the United States. Peace within ASEAN. Peace all over the world, which we must have to solve and achieve sustainable development. In the summer of 1963, after the missile crisis, President Kennedy tried very hard to make peace with the Soviet Union. He did a great thing. He told the American people, we can't go on thinking that they're just an enemy, because we'll destroy everything if we do. We must treat the Soviet Union as a partner in peace. And so we must rethink our own values and our own ideas. Can you imagine the American president told the American people, stop thinking that war is inevitable. We can make peace. And in that summer, when he was making his effort for peace, he spoke to the Parliament in Ireland. And he said something very moving, very profound. He said, across the gulfs and barriers that now divide us, we must remember there are no permanent enemies. Hostility today, said President Kennedy, is a fact, but it is not a governing law. The supreme reality of our time is our indivisibility as children of God and our common vulnerability on this planet. Our common vulnerability on this planet. And then he said something very, very moving to the American people, talking about the differences between the United States and the Soviet Union at the time. He said, let us not be blind to our differences, but let us recognize those differences and work to overcome them so that we can make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link, said President Kennedy, is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal. Ladies and gentlemen, and especially the young people here, let's build a world of peace. Thank you very much.